Hello, everyone. My name is Michaela Parker, and I'm excited to share with you my action research study focused on supporting a third grade student with autism spectrum disorder, whom we will call Mary. It is a pseudonym. In improving her homework management skills, Mary faced challenges with organization and forgetting to bring assignments to and from school. This study aimed to explore how a structured intervention could help. Before diving into the study, it's important to understand the existing research around this topic. Studies have consistently shown that children with autism spectrum disorder often face difficulty with executive functioning, which impacts their ability to organize and manage tasks, including homework. Research also highlights the effectiveness of task analysis, which breaks down tasks into smaller, more manageable steps as a powerful intervention. We also learned that combining task analysis with visual aids, self management, and strong communication between home and school can also boost its impact. While the literature supports task analysis, I noticed a gap in specifically addressing the physical journey of the homework between school and home. My study aimed to bridge this gap by developing a structured, step by step approach using task analysis to improve Mary's executive functioning skills from the moment the homework reached her hands to home and back again. So, my study was not necessarily contingent on her finishing the assignments or doing the homework. It was more about the transportation, although I did take data on that. To address Mary's challenges, I implemented a structured intervention centered around task analysis. I created a visual checklist for Mary to use at school when unpacking and packing her bag, and another one at home. To track her progress, I collected data through several methods, checklists, daily logs completed by her parents, and my own observations in the classroom. And then I analyzed this data both quantitatively, looking for frequencies and correlations, and qualitatively, identifying recurring themes. Now let's look at what we observed, or what I observed. Figure 1 shows the task analysis checklist that I used. So the first two were on her desk, the last one was on her backpack. Figures 2 and 3 represent Mary's progress over the 6 weeks of the study, tracking her independence in each step and the number of prompts required. You can see how initially Mary needed a lot of prompting. When she did need prompts, I kept track of how many prompts. So while we saw a slight positive trend between using the checklist and completing homework, it wasn't statistically significant, which is okay because my study did not focus on the completion anyway. We also found that Mary used the checklist more at school. As she did that, she needed fewer reminders from me, and we saw a similar, though weaker trend at home with parent prompts. Here are a couple of charts. Figure 4 is the student use of task analysis checklist at home and homework completion. So as you can see there, there's not too strong of a correlation. And then these other two show that there was a decline in the amount of reminders that she needed. So that tells me that the project just needs a little bit more time to see if it's more or less effective. All right, so my findings suggested that task analysis can be a valuable tool in fostering independence for students with ASD, particularly within the school day. The visual checklist seemed to provide a clear framework to reduce Mary's reliance on teacher prompts. But the lack of strong correlation between the overall homework completion and transportation suggests that more time or perhaps adjustments need to be made. And the importance of the continued collaboration between home and school is also very, very clear. Through this process, I learned the power of breaking down complex tasks into smaller visual steps for students. I learned that you need to be really consistent when you're doing things like this. I was fascinated by the data because it was all over the place sometimes, but then towards the end you could see some trends and stuff like that. And then I'm also really fascinated, and I want to emphasize the critical role of the parent collaboration because that's so important, and that really helped with this intervention. Um, Lastly, applying these lessons to my career, I will incorporate task analysis and visual supports in my teaching practices. I will prioritize building strong homeschool communication strategies. I will use data collection to inform and adapt my interventions. I will continue to seek out and implement evidence-based practices for supporting students with ASD, and understand the importance of patience and persistence. Thank you for your time.